There we go. So we are now live on YouTube, and I'm Larissa Russell of Heart Centered Academy, and welcome to the Aligned Ambitions Show. If you're a woman starting or growing your online heart-centered business, we are now. We have sound, even though I made sure it was off. Apologies for that. So if you're a woman starting or growing your online heart-centered business and you're wanting to do things differently, do you feel icky about using manipulative marketing tactics and are ready to align your business with your ethics, values, and life goals? Then stick around for this conversation. And today I have with me LauraAura. LauraAura is a vibrant speaker, mindset coach, and host of the Gutsy Podcast, a top 100 podcast. Yay, you. She teaches people how to quit settling and start radiating by shifting their mind junk. So welcome, LauraAura.
Hello, Larissa. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited to have you. And like I was just explaining, I don't know, my mind brain has been glitching for about the last 45 minutes. So we'll see how this conversation goes.
I'm along for the ride. Sometimes our brains do that, and instead of fighting it, we just embrace it, and it makes it a lot easier.
Well, one of the reasons I love live is because you get me as I am. So if you don't like it, off you go. And if you do, stick around. So it's just. So I have to ask about the name first, and then we can go into a little bit more about you. Or maybe
Yeah,
which way would be best for you? A little bit
I'm
more about you or the name?
I'm following you. You asked the name first, so let's go there.
Okay, I'm
So
excited about the name.
yeah, I go by LauraAura. That is my stage name, my brand name. That is me. But a fun story behind it. So when I first started my very first business, which was 17 years ago, it was in branding. I started by joining a networking group because I didn't know anything about business and I knew nobody. So somebody recommended joining this group. So we did. And one of the things that we did every week was we went around the table and gave a testimonial or a referral to somebody else in the group. And there was a gal in the group, and one day she stood up and she's like, Laura, there's just something about you. I don't know what it is. This aura, this LauraAura. And I remember in that moment thinking and feeling there's something really important in that. And I didn't know what it was and I didn't know what it meant. So I just kind of put it in my theoretical back pocket for about a decade. I didn't do anything with it. And as I started to speak, as I started to coach women, I started to embody who I actually am and what I really wanted. I found that zest, that aura, that energy field started to really come out. And so what I realized in that moment is LauraAura is my younger self who comes out to play, who is goofy and silly and ridiculous and loves adventure. And my higher self who guides me. It's my visionary, right? Where I'm headed, what I'm doing, the big things that I'm intended to do, combined with my present day self, who is the facilitator of making all those things happen. And so LauraAura is the embodiment of all parts of myself.
I love that. I love that.
Thanks.
And as I was saying to you just before we started, I'm not ready for the single name moniker. It just feels like, so I have to be prepared for that. So I think it's wonderful that you've embraced that and just,
Yeah, it is kind of funny because I actually have never really thought or talked about this before you brought that up. Is that there is a little bit of vulnerability in going even against the grain with your name and what you present yourself as and how you show up, And so I don't know. It sometimes when people are like LauraAura, like, is that what you want me to do? Because I can feel the hesitation. And it's taken me a little while to be like, yes, that's all I need because that's everything that I am.
Mhm.
So that's been a little bit of a journey to even just embody that and own that in a public sense.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. So that being said, can you tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do and how you
Yeah,
ended up in this online space?
would love to. Backstory, like I mentioned, I started my first business 17 years ago in branding. So I was a branding expert. I ran a branding agency for 16 and a half years. While I was branding businesses, I also found that I kept getting pulled to the side by the owners to have these kind of side conversations, the real stuff, the raw stuff, not just about their marketing, not just about their branding, but the big ideas that they didn't have anybody else to talk to about. The things that they were worried about that they, didn't have anyone else that they could talk about, just somebody that could see them for the world that they lived in. And I found that I started to radiate in that space. I just really love those really raw, honest conversations. So I started to interview them and share that information with the world. And then that quickly grew, and I figured out how to launch a podcast. Had no idea what to do. I bought a $25 headset off of Amazon, figured it out. Now it's almost 6 years old and top 100 on Apple Podcasts. So, and it's the Gutsy Podcast in case anyone is interested. And honestly, Larissa, I got to this fork in a road where I had been doing branding so long, I thought I would do it my entire life. And there was just this growing desire, passion, and need to speak and to coach, to help people, to make an impact in a different way. And so I made the decision last year to sell my agency. So I sold it in December. So I'm just 11 months out. I'm getting ready to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of that acquisition. And I went full time as a keynote speaker and a coach. So now, present day, I'm focusing on helping people to get really clear about what they want, and then to shift the mind junk that typically stops them so that they can actually go get it. We're talking about making gutsy moves here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Being able to own, first of all, what it is that you want, recognize all the ways that you stop yourself from doing it, and then giving yourself the permission to take the action to make that gutsy move to better your life.
Yeah. As you're saying, it's just like, it's so true. I moved into coaching women in business from working with them so much in my first online business, which was healing with creativity, and moved into and realized that really we have to do that same work, but now we have a reason. We want this business to do well. We want to flourish. We want to thrive. And so we're willing to do the work. And
Yeah.
so that's what I love about it, is that that's exactly it. And it's so much mindset work. You can build the skills and look things up on YouTube, but it's that mindset and how you think about things and how you're moving through things, and being really confident in what choices you're making that make all the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always tell people that, the internal things that you've not yet discovered or handled or dealt with yet do not go away in business. They get amplified. They come to the front of
Absolutely.
the line, and sometimes very quickly, and holding hands with another one. So being willing to understand and put yourself in a position where I realize I'm going to grow a business, but I'm also going to grow personally. This is a personal development journey, my friend.
Yes, it really
I've
is.
not yet met a single person that has created, grown, or expanded a business that has not gone through some sort of self-development journey, because you're just exposed in a different way. And I don't say that in a negative way, but like, it's a vulnerable space. You're putting yourself out there. You're trying new things. You're figuring things out. You're exploring things that you have no idea how to do.
Mhm.
Yet you're seeing everybody online that looks like they like everyone knows how to do it except for
Pretend
you.
so well they know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's total BS. Nobody knows.
It completely is.
It's a handful of people that know how to do certain things really well, right? And so you just have to be willing to open up and accept that, like, hey, I don't know everything, and there's some personal things that I'm going to have to finally handle. And when I do those things, and I do those things together, my friend, your happiness, success, finances, freedom, whatever it is that you got into this business for in the first place, is unlimited. But
Mhm.
you've got to be willing to face it and do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. And that's exactly it. And I think that's why so many businesses disappear in the first 2 years, right? That's why our government says, you have 2 years to make money, because
Yeah.
you have to decide, oh, I'm willing to do the work, or oh, I'm not really willing, so I'm just going to go back to a 9 to 5.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, I mean, I know all of you have heard this. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
It really isn't. But if it's meant for you, you'll figure it out.
Hmm.
You'll come in contact with the right person. You'll experiment with the right information. You'll try 10 things for the 11th thing to work, right? Like, you will figure it out. And so staying true to who you are and what you actually want to do is so important, because it gives you the opportunity to explore and find out what that is, to find out what you're really great at, and to let go of all the stuff that doesn't belong. But you can and you will figure it out. All you have to do is keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't stop. Right. That's really
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Easier said
Don't
than
stop.
done.
Yes.
Easier said than done. Know when you need to rest, right? Take a step back. Stop forcing things all the time because that does not make anything better. Spoiler alert, been there more times than I care to count. But the reality is, if you honor yourself and your body, and that goes back into that personal development journey, is like understanding who you are and what your body cues are. When your body is saying, hey, I need a break, and honoring that, you will go 10 times further faster than if you continuously try to push and force things to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in complete agreement. And things need to be aligned, right? And often, especially when we first get into building a business, we feel like we have to do all the things, right? And we push and we push and we push, and then we burn out and we crash and burn, and we have to pick ourselves back up after a little rest and come back to it. And then we're probably going to do the same thing, but maybe a little bit further out. We crash and burn again. That's when most people bail. And then if you're, I don't know, what is it, a masochist? If you keep going and you you know this is for you, then you pick yourself up and you go, okay, what have I learned? What have I actually learned? What do I need to do differently? What do I need to pay attention to? Or you talk to someone who's already been there and you hire them to be your coach and they can help you navigate without having to crash and burn. Yeah, that's
Invaluable. Mentors are invaluable.
They really, really are. So that's why I appreciate you being here on the show because sharing this information, I think, is so important to know that there's not one way to do things. There's a lot of wrong ways to do things, but you also have to find the right way for you. So you need to talk to people, you have to listen to people, but then ultimately, you have to make a decision about what's best for you and not rely on other people to make those decisions for you because you're no longer an employee. Now you're the CEO.
Yeah. And sometimes, it's an experiment process too, because I don't know about you, but I've not figured out everything on the first pass. In fact, I'm thinking back, I'm like, I don't think that there was anything that I learned on the first pass. And learning what you really want and how you want to do things comes from experimenting, from trying it, from doing it different ways and finding like, oh, this feels gross or yucky or sticky or not like me, or this isn't my style versus, okay, I know that that's information. I've tried that.
Mhm.
I've checked that box. And now your only job is to acknowledge and own that that's not the way for me. So let me try something else. And that might work a little bit and it might not. Like you're always gathering information. If you stay open to it, even the stuff that's not working out is information. So the more you try, the more you experiment, the more you get to like where you truly are. So, example, real quick, I started making TikTok videos a couple of years ago. And when I first got on there, it was like, like a little bit more polished and I'm sitting up tall and like looking straight at the camera. I'm like just doing this in a really like um almost stoic type of way. I don't know if you picked up on it. That's not really my jam. And so I started creating content the way that other people were creating content. I didn't like it, which meant I didn't want to do it anymore. And it wasn't being received, right? I wasn't booking calls. I wasn't having people come into my world. I wasn't having follows, right? I wasn't having people raise their hand and say, like, oh, I want more of that. But I found like, let me experiment with this style. Let me do this a little bit. I jumped on the trend bandwagon for a little while and it's like, some of it maybe ish, but that's just not really my jam either. And then I just started being me. I started being weird and quirky and insanely bluntly direct. That is my style. Like if you want answers and you want to move, you call me because we're going to get right to it really quickly.
Mhm.
And the more that I am myself, the more follows I get, the more calls I book, the more people that are in my world raising their hand. It is so much easier being myself, Larissa. So much easier being myself. And now I can bust out, 10 or 15 or 20 TikToks and batch create them in an hour time span and feel really good about it.
Mhm.
Whereas before it was like setting this whole thing up and doing this whole thing. And if I got one or two, I was lucky. And then I was tired and burnt out. So you have to sometimes go through it to figure out what is for you and what's not for you. And once you land on something that feels really good, go all in, do it,
Mhm.
do that thing, because that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the reasons I do my show live because I used to do the pre-recording and then you do the editing and you make sure everything was right and you'd have all your makeup and your hair done and all the things. And I do tidy myself up a little more, I'll give you that. However, I also show up very messy. I stumble over my words. The opening, I'm almost every opening is, are we live? I'm pretty sure we're live. I think we're live. You know, it's become kind of a joke because that's how I start things. I'm never too sure what's really going on. It's, then we're here. But it's who I am. And either you like it or you don't. And that's okay. There's 8
Yeah.
billion people on this planet. I don't need everybody to like me, right? And
Might be a
so,
little might be a little overwhelming, wouldn't
yeah,
it?
it would. Yeah, 8 billion. I don't know if I'm have the infrastructure for 8 billion people. So yes, we're probably better off if not all 8 billion came here. So yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I think more people starting out, if we could just get into that, I know it's hard. We're taught completely different things out in the world. So it is very difficult to shift that thinking. But if you can just come into it authentically as yourself and fail forward, just keep making mistakes because that's how you learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Anyway, yes, we're very much on the same page. And so you work with women, men, both?
Primarily women, but
Mhm.
I do work with all people.
Yes. And what I've found about, I've sort of centered around women, empowering women and moving them forward because we have such a different position in the world, right? Expectations on us. Have you found that with your clients that there's a real difference in what men need and what women need?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would say 95% of my audience is women,
Mhm.
right? There's a few select men that I've worked with. We're just fed different stories. You
Mhm.
know, men are fed the story of be strong, don't show emotion, be the head of the household, carry the weight, don't slip, don't show sensitivity. So a lot of times, if I'm working with a male, it's learning how to embrace those parts of himself, to let the guard down, to show the softer side, to be vulnerable in a whole new way, right? Whereas women, I mean, that could be a whole show in its own. We are taught to carry all the responsibilities and be perfect and to show up and to have it all together and do it while you're also looking really well at the same time and be the perfect mom and have all the fucking cookies made and excuse me, have all the cookies made and like do all the things. Like there's just this expectation societally.
Mhm.
You have to do all and be all to all things. And so us as women is about relearning how to prioritize ourselves, putting
Yes.
ourselves at the front of the line. And I know that's really kind of weird or taboo to some people, like, oh, putting yourself first, that's selfish. Why?
Yeah.
Why is that selfish? Putting myself first, caring for my own needs so that I can be a better, stronger, more vibrant, present human being for my child, for my spouse, for my clients, for the world. People are so much better when they are fulfilled within themselves. And so it's switching the narrative, regardless if male, female, or indifferent, of what the expectation of the world has been put on them.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so women, we have to be willing to switch that story within ourselves too, carrying that weight, that expectation that we have to do all and be all for everything and everyone and always be available and put everyone else's needs first and I'll take what's last. And don't get me wrong, there's certain situations when sometimes something or someone needs more of you, right? Let's not skew that. If you've got a sick parent or a kiddo that's having a challenge or something, like putting their needs before your own in those moments, totally get it. It makes you a really good human. The challenge is we make that our everyday. And so being willing to say, you know what, I have needs and I'm willing to fulfill them and I'm willing to take care of myself, that takes gutsy in its own. But it's the key that unlocks so many things. We think that prioritizing ourselves is selfish. I say it's necessary. Because if we don't have ourselves, then what are we doing?
Yeah. We're getting lost. We're burning out. We've got high numbers of depression and anxiety because we're not putting ourselves first, taking care of ourselves, doing what fulfills us so that we can do what we need to do for everyone else.
Yeah. And especially as an entrepreneur, you got to think about it. I mean, the days get long, the moments are lonely. I
Mhm.
get it. I've been doing it for 17 years. Been there, done that. I know the drill. And if you're not prioritizing yourself even before your business, how are you going to service those people that are coming into your world? How are you going to put information out there so people can find you? When you're burnt out, you're anxiety ridden, when you don't want to get out of bed, when it feels like everything's falling apart 24/7, how are you going to service your clients? The best way to service your clients is to service yourself.
Yeah. Mic drop right there. We're
I
done.
could I
Okay.
could get on a tangent about that if you can't tell.
Oh, I could too. So I'm just like, should we go deeper or should we leave it there? Is what I'm trying to decide because it's
Yeah.
like I have a rant inside me that's just waiting to come out. So I'm going to.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes we just need to hear these conversations.
Mm,
Even I need to hear this kind of stuff. I'm not perfect at this by any means. I still struggle with my own stuff, right? But it's hearing conversations like this. It's being in the right rooms with the right people that are holding their hands out and saying, "Hey, come with me. Let's do this." It wakes you up. It helps you remember. Because if you get down in the trenches for too long, it's easy to forget. So
mhm.
just even witnessing, if you're listening here today, let this be your reminder and everything that you need to hear today. It's time to put you first. And it's not only necessary, but it's the way of life. It's retraining a society. That's no
Mhm.
small feat, but how do we do that? If we each individually do that a little bit more for ourselves, then we start to retrain it. Then the next generation of kids see that, hey, mom's not burning herself out all the time. Mom's not tired and upset and angry all the time. They're
Mhm.
saying, oh, she takes care of herself. Oh, she prioritizes taking care of her body. Oh, she eats well. Oh, she's, getting enough sleep. It becomes the new way of life. So societally, we are all generational breakers right now. We're changing the way that things are done.
I hope so. I really do hope so.
I hope so too, my friend.
I watch my daughter, who's in her mid 30s, and she is doing all the crazy things that I used to do, having to do it all. And she works and has three kids and has a husband and a house and doing all the things. And as much as I talked to her about it, and she said, "Oh, yeah, 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 I'm going to do that for myself," she still does the things because she feels that's what's expected of her. And it is what's expected of her. However, it's going to continue to be expected of her unless she makes a change. And it's hard to make a change. I understand that. But we need to. We need to.
Yeah.
I did it
What
so late in my life.
what you allow will continue.
Hmm.
And it's hard to make a change. I don't downplay that by at any means, but it's also hard to continue in a path that's draining you.
Yeah.
So choose the hard. One is temporary, one keeps going.
Yeah.
I've got this
Yeah.
fly that is joining us today. I
I
don't know if
know.
you
I've
call
been
him, but
watching
yeah,
you trying to navigate.
I mean, he's welcome to be here, just maybe not on my face.
Yes, just tone it down, buddy. Tone it down. Um, well, I want to thank you so much. Now, you have a gift for our listeners. Foundations for Getting Out of Your Head, a free 5-day private podcast. Want to tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
Yeah. So if you go to LauraAura.com/foundations,
Just put it in the chat. Yep.
fantastic. All you got to do is put in your email, and I'm going to send you over the series of 5 days the foundational method that I teach all of my clients to be able to get out of your own way in the moment, to shift your mindset in the moment. So, the number one thing that stops people from moving forward is themselves. So, if we can learn how to navigate our own thoughts, to be able to catch and shift them in the moment, and to choose something that supports what we want instead of going away from it, you become unstoppable. So, they're quick audio lessons every day for 5 days. They're like 15 or 20 minutes. And I go deep into this method. And I promise you that if you utilize it, you will start to change your life.
I love that. I love that. So I'm going to send everybody that way. And it will also be under in the description later today, but it's in the chat right now if you need it. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we go? I think we could talk forever.
Absolutely, we could.
You know, we're in agreement on so many things. Any final thoughts for our listeners today?
Yeah, I always love this question because I like to answer it intuitively for the space and what everyone needs to hear. And so what I would encourage you to do today is to take an emotional inventory of everything you're doing right now. How many of those things have you started to do or keep doing because you feel like you should? So, what I mean by taking an emotional inventory is go through the tools that you use, the apps on your phone, the social media platforms that you're on. Heck, if you want to go even deeper, go through your services and what you're offering people. And I want you to give it an honest, you don't have to change anything right now, right? All I'm asking you to do is give it a high level. Is it a hell yes or is it a no? And let yourself sit with that for a second. Does this serve you? Is it something that you're excited about or could be? Does this feel interesting to you? Is this feeding your bigger goal? And if not, let's start simplifying, friend. You don't have, back to the earlier conversation, you don't have to do all and be all to everything in your business either. And sometimes that means slimming things down, getting a little bit more focused, and getting rid of all the extra stuff that's taking up your time and your energy. So do an emotional inventory, sweep through everything, give it a high level yes or no, and then allow yourself to let go of the things that are no longer serving you.
I love that. As someone who has just merged two businesses, migrated to a new platform, and rebranded,
No, whew,
we did a lot of that.
I,
Just clean stuff out. What actually is working? What do I feel passionate about? Yes. What do you
it's
feel passionate about?
liberating,
Yes.
right? Liberating. What are you passionate about? Yes. What do you actually want?
Yeah.
Does this serve your greater vision? Or does it feel like sandbags that you're lugging around every day?
Yeah.
It's okay to let things go, even if you've been doing it a long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm in full agreement. And I want to thank you again so much for being here, Aura. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks.
And if you're a woman interested in aligning your heart-centered business with your ethics, values, and life goals, join our Aligned Business Building Mastermind for accountability, like-minded women who become your business colleagues to share the journey with, resources, trainings, and so much more. You can get a month free at the Heart Centered Academy /ABB purchase 1MF, 1 month free. So we'll have that link below as well. And thank you. And we will see you next time on the Aligned Ambition Show.